Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Seth Udinsky, Samuel Case, and your host, Mark Manila. Gentlemen, good morning. Great to be back for another week.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Happy Monday. Everybody's happy on Monday, right?
It's exciting. I'm feeling pretty happy this morning,
I am
Mark.
too.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day. We're excited to be here. Mark, it's a wonderful thing as we remember that God has given us this great tool of our money to use for his glory. And there's a lot of power in that. And it's a good thing. It can be a scary thing, but he's given us this tool and he's given us the ability to steward it well. Pretty cool.
Boy, when you finally understand that finance is a tool he gives us, stewardship is a blessing. When you start to fully embrace it and realize that this is all God's and we're here to manage it. And I don't know, there's such joy and so much more peace in the world when you really get your mind around all that.
Amen, brother. Folks, if you want to join in the conversation and share your thoughts on these things, we'd love to hear from you. If you got questions as well, coming to the end of the year, 610-363-1110. Our phone lines are wide open. Now's a great time to call. If you want to get into the show, give us a call right now. Don't wait until the later part of the show. Just get in the queue right now at 610-363-1110. Gentlemen, on today's show, some interesting things to talk about. Do you want to be financially healthy this coming year? I hope all of you do. We got some advice to help you. So
imagine if someone said no.
Yeah, you might be listening to the wrong radio show. Let's just put it that way. Also, Netflix, speaking of doing wrong things, continues its mission to shove a sinful agenda down the throats of little impressionable children. We'll talk about that later on. But first and foremost, guys, it looks like we saw over the weekend that the House has passed an act called the Invest Act. Sam, what have you got for this one?
They're so creative with these names, aren't they? So this is a bill aimed at helping more companies go public and boosting capital for startup companies. It passed on a very large bipartisan basis, 302 to 123, with 87 Democrats joining all Republicans in support. The bill's pretty broad in scope, but a key provision of it is that it lifts the cap on how much venture capital firms can raise and how many people can invest in those companies. So what it does is it increases the allowable number of investors from 250 to 500 and raises the fundraising cap from $10 million to $50 million. So I'm going to stop there, Mark. So tell us, what does this mean for startup companies, and why is it so important right now that we get startups on the market?
Well, for startup companies, it's very important. Having this limit of 250 people expanded to, what was it, 500? That's incredible. That means they can raise more money up front to have the money they need to seed their program, whatever it is. If they're starting a factory, if they're starting a new product, if they're whatever they're doing, they now can raise more money to get it started. I think that's also a good thing. A lot of times companies, they want to raise the minimum amount because they don't want to give all their control away to those people that are putting the money into it. So, but now that they can raise more, oftentimes when they did that, what they do have to go back and raise more later on and then raise more again and again. And that's one of the things that is a problem with companies when they finally go public, because we're talking about private money here. There's two parts to this thing. One is the private money and one is the going public. But raising money, getting the company off on a good footing is a good thing. So I think for people wanting to start businesses, it's going to help a lot there. And then for going public, it's going to help as well, because hopefully they'll have raised money and they won't have to dilute their investors as much as many startups do and many IPOs do. So I think it's a very good thing, but we got to be very careful about this. Yeah, it's great that they're expanding access to private capital and they're making it easier to go public. But here's some things we really need to be careful. As investors, we really need to understand that there's a lot of risk in private capital. I have found in my years in the industry that a whole lot of time, probably more than than anything else is spent preparing to raise capital than it is preparing the company. I have found that people spend more time on coming up with the deck to present, to convince people to invest in their new startup than they do in actually working on their product or service. So you have to remember there's a lot of hype in startups and companies in the private money area. So you got to be very careful. Getting access to those does expand the investment horizon, but it also increases more risk, which we need to really be careful about. Remember, private capital is high risk, just from the hype and from the lack of experience, sometimes from the lack of management skills and stuff that people starting these companies have. Second, it can be very illiquid. And third, it's ultra speculative because you don't know where it's going to go. And they spend all the time in the world trying to word it just right to make it sound like this is the biggest thing since, what do they say, sliced bread, or it's going to go through the ceiling and there's no way it's the most solid thing. The hype is awfully strong. On the other side of it, I think it's really cool. The idea of, which I didn't hear you mention, but I noticed that one of the things that they put in here is they're changing the rules of what's called an accredited investor.
Yeah, now, what is that, Mark? And does that increase risk for people? Do we want more people becoming accredited investors?
Oh, I think we do. We actually do. It's amazing. One of the things they're going to change is they're going to have, right now it's an income test. If you have $200,000 income or $1 million in net worth, then you're an accredited investor, which means nothing. Having more assets does not make you more savvy or understanding of the financial markets or startups or things like that. But I guess the government felt if you had this, maybe you had a little background in it somehow, But the reality is, they're starting to do something called a professional knowledge-based test. So even if you didn't have $200,000 income or $1 million, you could then take a test that shows that you have the knowledge and understanding of the risk and the insides and outsides of what it means to invest in these type of things. And I think that's an awesome thing to do because even if you're a multimillionaire, I think it'd be best before you claim you're an accredited investor to go and take this test or study for this test because it'll teach you everything you need to know, teach you about all the risk and all the benefits of investing in private capital and or investing in new IPOs. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
very cool
good stuff. 610-363-1110. Guys, let's move to some other, unfortunately, rather concerning news. It looks like a third of Netflix's kids shows are pushing an LGBTQ agenda. That's staggering. Sam, what can you tell us?
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
That's based on a new study. It's from a group called Concerned Women for America. 1/3 of children-rated content on Netflix. So not necessarily per se children's shows, but these would be shows rated as appropriate for young audiences, like rated G, Y, or Y7. They studied 300 Netflix shows, finding, as I said, 30% of them, 33% had LGBTQ themes, characters, storylines, etc. By the way, certain of those ratings, it was even higher. I think in the general audience, which is supposed to be the easiest to view, the most acceptable for kids, I think it was like 40% in that category, which is just really, really disturbing. There's a little bit of good news here, though. That is that the cultural trend might be changing. There was another report, this one from a pro-LGBT group, warning that next year about 40% of LGBT characters, not just in children's shows, but across the board, are going away for next season's TV. So that's a little bit of good news, but still, it does not take away from the absolute horror going on with Netflix and children content.
Yeah, Mark,
absolutely. It's disgusting. Actually, I'm so glad to hear that it's rolling back the other way, but not. I'm saddened that it's not rolling back fast enough. I'm so tired of being lectured by LGBTQ organizations and television. I want to watch a show, not be told that I have to accept two girls kissing or a guy wearing a woman's clothing. I don't want this shoved down my throat continuously every time I turn on the TV. I'm tired of it, and I'm tired of how they make it, try to make you feel bad if you don't accept it, and how this is supposed to be normal. Well, it's not normal. The Bible tells us it's not normal. It's wrong. It's sinful. It's self-centered. It's all about pleasing the self. It's all about sexual immorality. It's just not right. Just in general, across TV, cable, and everything else, Netflix isn't alone in this. I think it's absolutely awful what they're doing with it. I'm glad to see it's pulling back. But when it comes to kids, that's where I lose it. That's where I draw the line. That's where I'm done with this. We have to stop this absolutely. Here's what should be done. There should be absolutely no reference to sex in kids' stuff, in kids' entertainment. None. They're kids. Let them play. Let them grow up. Let their parents influence them, not the TV. Don't use the TV as a way to enforce evil agendas on our children. That's my bottom line of it. I believe we have a Savior, a God who wants us to be holy and moral, not impose on our children like that.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Are you tired of chaos? There are a lot of things that make noise, but only a few that truly matter. As a parent, I want to leave something that will last for a long time.
You invest $300 a month interest on unpacked by the time you retire.
Not just an inheritance of money, but a legacy of godly values.
Here at Financial Issues, we want to help you grow your money, but our main goal is to help you honor God with the money that He's given you.
Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
I found out I was pregnant when I was 21 years old. For me, I was scared, I was shaking. They do an ultrasound, and that's when everything changed. When I saw my baby, and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it. We've seen the hand of God ever since we stepped into the pregnancy center.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
$610-363-1110. That's $610-363-1110. The phones are open. The queues are open. We're going to go to our calls right away here, and then we're going to get on to a new segment that you've never heard before. But first, let's go to Bobby. Bobby in Texas. Welcome to the show, Bobby. What's on your mind this morning?
Thank you, Mark. It's great to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
We recently did some tax harvesting in Blue Owl Corp, and
okay.
I noticed it's been moved from the buy list to a hold, and I'm ready to repurchase it, and I just wanted to ask your opinion before I did that.
But yeah, right in the middle of a strategy, right? No, it's a good question. Obviously, the best thing to do is it's a hold right now. We're not suggesting people buy into it right now. There's a lot of reasons. I don't have it up on my screen to be able to see it, but there could be a lot of reasons why, and none of them are probably that pressing, because if it was pressing, it'd be a sell. It's just that we think there's other things that have better entry points at this time. Blue Owl may not have the best the best fundamentals. They may be working through something, and we want to wait until those get done, or they just were too high at one point, which I don't think that is the issue with Blue Owl. So here's a thought. Why not just go to the buy list in the Partners Hub and find a new stock to buy into and not worry about Blue Owl at this point, since you don't have it? I mean, that's what makes the most sense. I mean, the tax harvest still worked. You still got the tax, the capital loss to offset some of your capital gains. And now you've seen that Blue Owl, as it pulled back, obviously people saw some of the issues. Maybe insiders did other things that caused it to pull back the way it did, which caused the losses. And now we're sitting on it saying it's not a lost cause. It's regrouping and restructuring. We want to see that steel reestablished properly, which we believe it will, or we would have just sold it. So go on to something else. Either way, it doesn't matter. Your capital's being deployed, and hopefully being deployed in a stronger, higher potential, stronger steel type of stock.
Bobby, this is just a question for reference. Did you sell out of all of it, or did you just pare back? Do you still have some of it?
No, I sold all of it.
Sold all of it. Okay,
good.
Yeah. And the strategy was to buy it back,
right.
But then I saw that it got moved and started reading about it, and so I wanted to call.
Yeah, and that makes sense, and I understand you're concerned about that, and that'll happen occasionally when we sell something off. The analysis of that stock, obviously other people have done the same thing, so there's some issues with the stock that are hopefully going to be straightened out, and when they do, we'll get it back to the buy list, and you can buy it back then. But meanwhile, deploy your capital somewhere else in a better stock, something that is on a positive trend, made of steel, and has a lot more potential in the near and midterm future.
I really appreciate your straight answer. Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you. Thank you. And thank you for loving the Lord so much that you invest with integrity. And have a great Christmas.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah,
Mark,
Bobby,
that's really good stuff. And I do appreciate that straight answer also. I think that's, it's one of the beauties of investing with our strategy is if you do what Bobby did and you do some tax loss harvesting, which is a great strategy, there are other options for you, Yeah,
it's good. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Mark, I'm jonesing to hear about these 7 strategies. I've been hearing word on the street as you've got them for us.
Well, yeah. This is a great time of year, New Year's is. And instead of making vague resolutions, I thought maybe it's a good time to make some very strong resolutions, things that maybe could impact your life now and long into the future. Imagine working with 7 just general principles that could give you a stronger foundation, a lot more confidence in your finances. And that's what we're kicking off today with our 7 projects that can impact your investments to give you more peace, more joy, less frustration, and less anxiety, not for the new year, but from here on in. And the first project is one most people never want to talk about. Can you guess what it is?
Well, Mark, I know what it is, but that's because I saw the show notes.
Oh, that's true. That's not fair. Well, the first one is view debt with holy caution. You're going to say, how is this a project? Well, because almost everybody in America has debt right now, one way or another. And even though we don't talk about it as much as we did, say, 30 years ago, like when Larry Burkett was around and people like that, debt is a really big deal. And most people now think of it as normal. Back in 30, 40 years ago, we still saw debt as a bad thing. So I think as a Christian, we really need to realize that we have concerns about debt, and we shouldn't see it as normal. We should we should view debt with holy caution. We should look at it that way. Remember, Scripture reminds us that the borrower is a servant to the lender. That's Proverbs 22:7. Even though debt can feel like a normal type of thing to do in today's world, even comfortable, unfortunately, it has changed hidden beneath the surface. But it's worse than that. It steals your future, and most people don't know that. And we're going to talk about that today. And I just like to remind people, there's a lot of warnings in the Bible. I'm not saying that borrowing money is always sin, but I am saying that when the God of the universe, the one who created all things, the one who, including the physics of money, says, hey, be careful, stay away from debt, you might want to listen, because he has a clue. Not because not just because, he didn't do that just to keep you from getting things right away right now. He did it because he knows the impact it has in your life now and in the future. It isn't a harmless tool. That's the bottom line of it. It's a powerful and potentially destructive tool. Most people handle debt like it's a screwdriver or a hammer or something. But in reality, it's like handling nitroglycerin. It could blow up. It could take your whole financial life down with it. Debt can destroy. And in my lifetime as a financial advisor, I have seen more people harmed by debt than any other financial instrument. More than the markets in a crash, more than anywhere else. Debt not only destroys your current lifestyle, puts in all sorts of anxiety, frustration, distraction, keeping you chained to the things that you don't want to be focused on and not able to focus on the things that you should. It destroys your future as well. So this year, let's start with just making a reforming our thoughts in our brain to work towards reducing what weighs you down so that more of your future remains free to serve God, free to enjoy your life rather than not being free and changed to creditors and having to take their calls and having to make all the payments and having to juggle money left and right. So bottom line is that debt is something we need to deal with. If you haven't dealt with debt, if you're using debt flippantly right now and it doesn't seem to be harming you, that's just the way it works. That's just the way they get you drawn in. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here. But go ahead.
Mark, I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to say, I think it is really interesting. You brought up Proverbs 22:7 as one. That's one of the kind of the key verses of the Bible's warnings against debt. That's not the only one, though. Romans 13:8 also says, owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves another has fulfilled the law. We focus a lot on owing love to other people, which is a huge thing the Apostle Paul's talking about. But he also does plop in there, don't owe anyone anything. So there is serious danger with debt. Like you said, it is an explosive, and it can be used for good. But
and most people don't realize it. It just feels so normal now because everything is debt, debit cards, whatever, electronic. Might as well use a credit card and, that kind of stuff. But and I know a lot of people have said, well, I've tried to tackle that. I've tried to move on from it, but it just doesn't work. That's because it's a state of mind. You've been programmed. You've been indoctrinated so well. So it all starts with the proper state of mind if you want to get out of debt, which means you have to renew your mind. Remember what the Bible says. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we're going to help you renew your mind here. And the first step is to remember, debt is not your friend. Everybody hears that. They say, oh, yeah, I know that. Debt is just something you use. No, it's worse than that. Debt is the enemy. Debt is a tool of the enemy, and he uses it to distract you, to enchain you, to do all the different things that you're going to find out if you're just starting into the debt thing, how horrible it is. In fact, I used to always say credit is not your friend. Credit is more like a drug dealer than a friend. Here, think about how it happens. You start with how do you get started with drugs? Well, you got a friend at a party says, here, man, try this. Oh, no, thanks. No, really, it's on me. You don't have to pay for it, nothing. It's fun. You'll like it. It's okay. You'll enjoy the party more. So you end up doing a little bit. Then the next time it's like, hey, man, you want to party again? Well, sure, fine. He said, okay, but this time you're going to have to chip in, that kind of thing. And that's how it gets started. How does it get started with credit? Same way. Hey, man, come on. I'm your friend. Let's party. You deserve this new table. You deserve to be able to go on this cruise. You deserve, and you know what? 0 interest, nothing down. I'm going to make it easy. No problem. That's what friends do for each other. And then the next time you go, it's like, wait a minute, you already have that one on there. You're going to have to start paying a little bit on this, And then finally what happens is you start borrowing so much or you start using so much, as a drug dealer does, that you're buying it over and over. Now you're paying high interest over here. And you go back and the drug dealer says, hey man, you still owe me from the last time, and it's like, wow. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll get it to you next week. Yeah, you better, or I'm going to break your legs. That's what the drug dealer does. So many people have been killed or beaten senseless because of falling behind and not paying the drug dealer, not having the money to do it because the drugs have ruined their life. What happens with credit? Well, pretty soon you've gotten so much borrowed on your account that you're juggling one credit card to the next or something like that to keep payments on. And you go to buy something, they say, I'm sorry, you're at your credit limit. No more for you, buddy. We're cutting you off, and then at that point, they start destroying your life financially. So debt or credit is more like a drug dealer than it is a friend. You have to remember that. And we're going to dig deeper into this in our in the segments to come to help you realize how to get out of debt, stay out of debt, and live a free life and a joyful life in our whole debt slayer concept, along with the other 6 keys for the New Year's coming up as we talk about, as we go through the week here together.
Every day, kids all across America are coming to school with some kind of hidden pain.
I've seen kids come in who are just so confused about what's right and what's wrong, just having no idea that God loves them. And this just breaks my heart. Crossroads has the opportunity to bring the Word of God right into the public school, to reach children right where they are.
And when we see that happen, we see God changing lives.
We want to see kids not only come to Christ, but pursue a lifelong relationship with Him. And so local churches are uniquely positioned to disciple those children as they become young adults and through their lifespan.
Crossroads comes alongside a church and provides that church with a club structure, curriculum, training, and ongoing coaching for them to run these outreaches in public schools.
If you are burdened for the children of America, consider making a donation to Crossroads Kids Club. For more information, visit reachOurschools.com. That's reachOurschools.com. Good morning, brother. You're live on Financial Issues.
There's so much I want to say about financial issues. We've been partners since about 2017. We came from a secular mind of investing, had the conviction to change over our portfolio. And since that time, we've been reallocating from a secular to a biblical-minded investment strategy. And with the portfolio asset allocations, it's really made it easy for us to have a portfolio that now works for us. And when there's a sell alert, well, you guys have been researching for the buys, and so there's always something that is available to us to reinvest in. Become a partner, everybody. Become a partner. I also was paying 1% of my portfolio, and $135 is not even a fraction of that percentage.
Invest without compromise. Go to financialissues.org to get started today.
My baby was like this big. He was like this tiny little spectrum of hope and this unnamed beauty, in a sense. It was poetic. And I saw his heart beating on the screen. And I mean, I went from, I don't want this baby, it's just a fetus, it's just cells put together, to talking to my child on the screen and feeling really protective and knowing that there's life growing inside. I mean, that sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to mom. I'm a mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Merry Christmas, everyone. It's great to be here with you this 10 days, guys. We're within 10 days of Christmas. Pretty exciting stuff. Give us a call, 610-363-1110. Markets just opened, guys. They finished last week. It was a pretty good week until Friday. Friday turned downwards a little bit, but this week they seem to have regained their resolve, and each of the major indices opening with moderately positive strength here to see. Mark, a couple follow-up questions for you from what you just talked about when it comes to debt. The first one, and I think this is one that most of our listeners are probably wondering, is what are the steps we take to actually tackle the debt? Do we tackle the big one first? Do we just try to piece it out? What do we do? And then I have a second question for you after.
Along with the programming that's gone on in the world, indoctrination, to keep us to believe that debt is normal and not dangerous and not anti-biblical in many senses, is that the world has come up with all sorts of get out of debt quick schemes, and every year you see them on the front of magazines, how to reduce your debt by 30% in 3 easy steps, and this and that. Even Christian advisors I've seen give some really bad ideas on how to get out of debt. Really, it all starts with one, like we started before. You have to be in the right state of mind. You have to realize, you have to embrace, you have to totally believe debt is not your friend. Credit is not your friend. If you don't have the right state of mind, it doesn't matter. It's like a diet. You want to lose weight. If you don't really believe that you want to lose weight, if you really don't believe that being thinner or being is healthier or whatever it is, the reason you want to lose weight, then you're not going to do it. So you have to totally believe debt is not your friend, and that it does rob you of some of your current lifestyle through the payments and the interest you pay, and then that interest robs you of future lifestyle as well, which we'll talk about at some other time. But you have to get there first. And then the second step is to regain control of your income and cash flow. Remember, what you're doing when you borrow to buy something is you're renting money. You're actually renting money, and you're paying interest on the rent of that money, and you're losing cash flow because of that. You have signed away. Every time you sign one of those documents, whether it's at a car dealer or at an appliance dealer or at a McDonald's, it doesn't matter where. Every time you use that credit card and put it on your credit card, if you're not paying it off every month, which almost nobody does, but a few people do. But if you're not, you're actually signing away part of your future income. You have said, I no longer have rights to this future income. It has to go to these people. So it all starts with the proper state of mind, and then regaining control of your income. Let me give another example, another story here. Have you ever seen the dog walkers? They go down the street and they got 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 dogs, and they're walking down the street. Well, there's a lot of clips on the web right now that show people walking down the street with the dog, and the dog will take off and drag, pull them off their feet and drag the owner down the street. Sometimes they can't let go. It's wrapped around their wrist or something, and they're getting torn up. They're getting scraped. They're getting hurt, and it could even get worse. The dog could run out into traffic. It could get ran over. I mean, the beast is in control here, and the beast that we're talking about right now is debt. If you're signing away your future income, if you're signing these things away, you have given control to the beast. And you're no longer in control. So you got to get back control of your debt. And you do that by first realizing the different types of debt. There's really 3. There's balance, bad, and worse. You notice I didn't say good. There's balance, bad, and worse. Balance is the least harmful. It's usually low interest. It's usually backed by some sort of appreciating asset like a home or something like that. And usually the interest, it could be tax deductible. So it's like a mortgage would be a good example of that. Bad, this is the type of debt that starts to get you under its thumb. It starts weighing down your life. It really starts feeling oppressive, and it usually carries a higher interest rate. And if it is backed by an asset, it's usually a depreciating asset. I think a car loan would be a best example of this type of debt. But the worst debt, and this is the beast that usually throws the final blow to your finances, it's usually high debt. It's usually not tax deductible, and and it usually doesn't require you to have any asset to back it. And you probably have already guessed it, but this is credit card debt. This is plastic. This is the type of debt that usually ruins your current lifestyle and your future, takes away the joy and the peace, that starts causing problems. So you need to learn how to recover that. And you do that by restructuring your debt. You want your debt to be least harmful and most productive. Well, there's different ways to do that. There's different ways to restructure your debt. And sometimes there's no way to do that. So you just have to work on like the most expensive first and start making payments on that till you get that paid down. But all that is just part of the steps. When you restructure your debt so that it is least harmful and gives you the most control of your cash flows, then you can start on the step 2, which is to build the moat around your castle, which is something we're going to talk about tomorrow. But that keeps you from having to go back into debt. You see, most get out of debt concepts, they'll give you something like, well, pay the highest interest one first, and you just pay that down, and then you go on to the next highest interest and so on. And that's good advice, except for it's missing a few things. And that's the problem with a lot of the get out of debts. They don't take in the whole holistic picture of your life. They just say, do this or do that, but not this and this and this. If you don't have a structure in place to keep you from going back into debt, what good is getting out of debt? You start up here with the debt, and then you start paying it down, and then the refrigerator breaks, and you go back up here, and then you start paying it down, and the car breaks down, and it just keeps going over and over. And if, in effect, you never really get out of debt. It just feels like you do, because occasionally you're coming down on the amount of debt you have before you have to run it back up. You don't want to do that. You have to have that moat around your castle, which we'll talk about how to employ tomorrow. But that's part of the strategy. 3 things you need. 1, get control of your debt by, if possible, restructuring in the least harmful, most productive type of debt. And then 2, you need to get that moat around your castle. And 3, you need to systematize it so you never have to worry about it. I mean, imagine if you could right now, in very simple steps, set up a system that automatically took care of your debt. You didn't even have to think about paying it. It automatically paid it, did all the different things you need to do so that you could get on with life. The first 2 steps you have to do first before you can set up a system like that. But we're going to talk about that too. I call it the integrity model, where you can set up a system that helps you to recover lost lifestyle that's going to vendors and to creditors and sending their kids to the best schools and buying them a house or 2 or 3 houses around the world instead of buying you and your children those kind of things, instead of you being able to use it for ministry. We're going to show you how to do that, how to build your moat, and then how to build a system that automates your debt so you remove the anxiety and stress today and recover the assets so you can invest those and put them to work for your tomorrow as well. So those are the 3 steps. 1, get in the right state of mind. 2, restructure your debt if possible to get to the least harmful, most productive. And 3, build the moat around your castle and build the integrity financial planning model so you can set it on your debt on auto destruct. And I know that's a lot, and we didn't go into depth on that, but we will go into depth on that as we come together. For example, tomorrow we are going to talk about building that moat around your castle to stop you from having to go into debt, to protect you from the credit thieves that come and take away a bit of your current lifestyle and a lot of your future lifestyle by forcing you to have to use credit cards or debt because you're not able to pay outright for those things. We'll show you how to prepare for that and make it so that just like a moat around any castle, you can actually start protecting your castle from the credit thieves.
And Mark, one of the exciting things about this is you had mentioned the first of these 7 principles. We are going to be offering a free resource to anyone who's listening. You don't even have to be a partner for it, but it's going to be on our website, a PDF that just explains some of these steps as well. So be on the lookout for that. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. And we're going to expand that. And in fact, I believe I heard we're actually going to make some videos for each of the steps to walk people through them.
Mark, I'm glad you heard that because I heard a rumor about that too, and I guess we're the guys who are going to make those videos, huh?
It will, so that it'll be a step-by-step guide, and it'll walk you through it in a video and help you to get there. I can't say it enough. Debt destroys more people. In my life as a financial planner, I've seen more joy, more peace robbed from people's lives by debt than anything else. I've seen death. I've seen stock market crashes. I've seen all sorts of, inheritance lost, just all sorts of crazy things that went on. But nothing has destroyed people's and distracted them from their walk with the Lord more than debt itself. That's why we made it number one. So get in the right state of mind right now and just start thinking to yourself over and over again, debt is not my friend. Credit is not my friend. And it's a tool, but it's a tool that needs to be handled very carefully, lest it blow up your current lifestyle and destroy your future as well. Debt is not my friend.
Good stuff, Mark. Hey, we got time, folks. If you want to queue your call up, now it's time to do it. 610-363-1110. Again, 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this short break.
I started investing close to 30 years ago now. All that time, I had never heard anyone talk about setting up your portfolio in a way that glorifies God. When I first heard about it, I was listening to the radio, a show called Financial Issues. They were teaching people how to honor God with their money. I became a partner with Financial Issues, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
My name is Reagan Gardner, and I am in the 4th grade. Last year, I wanted to be like everybody else. I thought I had to act different, look different, and be different to be cool. When I joined Crossroads, I learned that God loves me just the way that I am.
Help reach more kids like Reagan with the hope of the gospel. To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachOurschools.com.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
610-363-1110, folks. We'll get you in the call queue right now. If you call in, we'll get you on the show. 610-363-1110. Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at Samaritan Ministries. Really appreciate the work that Samaritan does, especially considering, guys, that it looks like the Senate has rejected both a Democrat and Republican health care proposal late last week. This pretty much guarantees that millions of Americans are going to see steep premium increases in January when the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. So all the more reason to get on Samaritan, in my opinion. Be a great thing for you to do, SamaritanMinistries.org. Mark, you had mentioned something in the break there just about why it's important for us to keep an eye on debt, even though I'm sure there are a lot of our listeners out there probably have already tackled their debt.
Yeah,
but what does this have to do with our investing?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of our partners and our listeners are probably that step above a lot of people in that sense. They're probably way past the debt thing. But the reason it's important is so often what keeps people from being able to invest, especially early in life, is they have so much money going to the credit cards and the buy now, pay later type of contracts they sign, that they don't have any money left to start going into their investments for their future, for the future of their children, for the education of their children, or for the other things in life. So debt, along with just keeping you from enjoying life, also keeps you from preparing for future life. And that's called lost opportunity. You just don't lose the interest. You know, you may pay $3,000 on a $5,000 purchase in interest, but you didn't lose that $3,000. You lost what that could have grown to over your lifetime. And I've calculated it up to be most people with the average debt on a credit card, the average debt now is about $10,000, lose over $3 million in interest and lost opportunity at a very conservative investment rate. So that tells you how much debt steals your lifestyle. So we want you to be able to invest and prepare for a better lifestyle and prepare to be able to help people and other ministries more.
That's good. 610-363-1110. Mark, got a question here from George. George is 71. He says, I've been looking at and considering the high valuations mentioned many times by various sources. So not just us who are saying this, Mark, a lot of people are. George is saying there's one or more quarters in 2024 to 2025 that many companies had disappointing earnings. I've thought this high valuation problem would subside when earnings return to normal via Trumponomics. What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
That's a good question. I believe you're right. The short answer is yeah. Improving policies can absolutely help companies do better. If you start reducing regulations, clearer and hopefully less taxes, lower energy costs, all these things can help companies to start building that internal fundamental steel that we're talking about. But you have to remember, this is a process. This isn't just a switch. Well, Trump policies are in, boom, everything's great. It doesn't happen like that. There's a thing called a J-curve in economics where it takes a while. The trajectory that it's on, it'll continue on until these things start getting in place and it'll slowly start changing. So it's not a switch. It's a process. That's the bottom line. But I think you're nailing it. Things could normalize or get better under the Trumponomics, and that would be great. But it's not going to happen overnight. That's the bottom line on it. So what we need to do is be watching stocks, be the great investors that you are already. Invest on fundamentals, not on political expectations. Focus on value-driven sectors and sound companies. That's what we do with a lot of potentials. So earnings might catch up, but it's going to be slowly. So stay diversified and stay biblically aligned.
That's great, Mark. Next one we have is Gary. Gary is saying, I'm wondering if you've looked into metallium. So it's flash metals technology. I'd like to invest in the technology, but I'm a little confused exactly how to invest in it. What would you have for Gary, Mark?
Well, this company is interesting in many ways, but it is high-risk territory, Gary. I'd really like to say, this is not a typical investment money. This would be speculative. Metallium has been around that flash heating process, and it hasn't been proven yet, bottom line. Exciting, but it hasn't been proven, and it hasn't shown its commercial cycle yet. It hasn't shown how it's going to make money for the company, or whether it will ever be adapted at all fully, so it's very speculative. I would say, even though, the team has I looked into it a little bit, and even though the team has some really smart people regarding scientific endeavors, they don't have a lot of background in running a major industry. And I've seen this before with my clients when I had my advisory and had a handful of clients that could invest in startups and stuff like that. I've had a lot of very smart people come in and say, well, I invested in this startup over here. But what they looked at was the possibility of the product, but not the management team. And then, of course, scientists don't think like business managers, and so they don't think about monetizing as much as they think about breakthroughs in scientific endeavors and stuff like that. So you got to be careful there too. So I'd be very careful is what the bottom line is. This is speculative investment due to the new tech, unproven scalability, and limited revenue. In fact, I personally wouldn't touch it yet until I seen them prove themselves a bit. So that's my advice to you. I hope that it helps. Remember, looking at companies' fundamentals is very important. Looking at their potentials is important. Part of their fundamentals is their management team. And in this place, I don't see the management team in place that gave me confidence to say, hey, I'm going to put $250,000, $400,000 into this company because they got a good idea. Good idea is only good if it's implemented and it can turn around and be profitable to support itself and those who invested in it. At this point, they haven't proven that. Hope that helps, Gary.
So, Mark, here's a similar question. This is from Michael. Michael's a partner. He's saying, good morning. I have held Eastman Chemical Company since 2021, and I was wondering if it'd be wise to sell these stocks due to a negative loss over the years. Thanks for your time and servant's heart. Michael doesn't say his age, Mark, or how much the company has gone down, but that's what he's wondering. What do you think?
It's an interesting question. I'm really glad you asked that. Should I sell because I'm down is a good question. How about changing that question around? How about asking instead, would I buy this company today at this price if I had fresh cash? And forget about that you already own it. But if you look at this company and you look at the fundamentals, you look at the management team, you look at its potential, and you say to yourself, this looks like a really good buy, then maybe hold on to it if you want to. But if you look at it and you say, no, the fundamentals have broken down, the earnings and the revenues have pulled back and or are negative at this point, and or the management team has changed up and we don't know what they're doing. If you're seeing those kind of things and you say, not really, I wouldn't invest in it, then get rid of it. But here's another reason to get rid of it. It's on our BRI watch list because it doesn't fit. Somewhere in there, they have sponsored or got involved with LGBTQ stuff, and that makes it a no-go for me. So the bottom line here, I think it makes it really easy. The answer is get out of it. Don't worry about it. Move on. Take your money to some place that's pure, peaceful, that's wonderful, that honors God, and has the potential, and has the steel that we talk about, and has all that in place to begin with. So don't even stretch your mind on it because it is on the watch list, BRI watch list. That means they're already starting to dip their toe in and getting involved with things that compromise your relationship with God. You don't want to partner with a company that does those kind of things. So since it's been losing money, since they've shown themselves morally deficient, move on, find something strong with a great potential and move in there. I hope that helps. God bless you for your question.
Mark, I really appreciate that. I'd hate to shortchange any of our partners with any more questions today, but I did want to just remind our listeners, if the ministry has blessed you this year, if God has blessed you through the ministry and you want to give back, you can certainly make a donation of any amount to the ministry for this final month of the year. If you're looking to do some year-end giving, Financial Issues would be a great place to do it. And if you request it, we'll send you a copy of Mark's book, The Wall Street Awakening. It'd be a great Christmas gift, a little stocking stuffer. Speaking of stocking stuffers, Mark, we're also gifting partnerships this Christmas. So if you want to gift a partnership to someone that you love, you can do that, and then you'll get a copy of this cool gift receipt here that you can, or it's kind of a certificate, really, not so much a receipt. It is a certificate. Put it into the stocking under the tree, be a great thing for you to do, and a great way to bless the next generation of investors, Mark. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
Just recently, I had a gentleman at our church come up and talked to me and said, I started watching the show, Mark, and I never thought about the way you guys invest in a way that you want to honor God. This is really changing my thoughts on everything. You may know somebody like that, and you may want to help them get started. You can do that by gifting them a partnership this year for Christmas and giving them the book, The Wall Street Awakening, to lay the foundations for that, so they too can become part of this great family we call Financial Issues and honor God with all they do, including their investments. God bless you all. See you in the morning.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.